coming up on Focal Point.
So thank you, Michigan, for helping us.
A former presidential candidate made his way back to Lansing this past Sunday. A tradition only thought to be for the athletes also goes a long way for the staff. Plus, how's the new interim president doing less than a month in? His report card coming up. Focal Point starts now. As students catch their flights for the South, Engler stays behind to pick up the broken pieces left from the prior administration. Good evening, I'm Deja Green.
And I'm Tatiana Hemphill.
We begin this afternoon with some breaking news. The Michigan State Police say 2 people have been shot and killed at the Central Michigan University. This is an active shooter situation. Early reports say the victims are not students. This is what we know right now. According to several news sources, including WXYZ in Detroit, several shots were fired on the 4th floor of Campbell Hall at the Towers. The suspect then fled on foot. As the story develops, we'll continue to update you on our Twitter at Focal Point MSU.
The learning curve after becoming president of Michigan State University might seem steep, but John Engler stepped in quickly and continues to make changes. Without any time to waste,
kind of working our own little pace here. It's a little faster, so.
He hit the ground running.
John Engler stepped into MSU's driver's seat with his foot on the gas.
As people have a tough time keeping up with that pace. He moves very quickly and started day one, and it wasn't like he was a startup. He started making decisions and moving through, calling people in.
Engler hired public relations pro John Truscott to help move the university through the Nassar sexual assault scandal.
I've just signed your death warrant. There really needed to be more transparency in that process, and I don't really think that who they appointed was the best person to put in that position.
I mean, he seems to be very proactive.
I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I think he's a proven leader. Having been our state's governor.
Now I want to take some questions on.
John Engler is forming an expert advisory work group for relationship violence.
You betrayed my trust.
And sexual misconduct. In 12 days as president, Truscott says John Engler is listening to the survivors, students, and faculty.
He treats people more than just like staff. They are partners, and he includes them. So.
Improving universities' health colleges, clinical practices, and student wellness programs.
Because he will ask you to be part of a decision-making process. He'll include people in the decisions that need to be made, and he'll ask their advice.
And he's doing all of this without his $500,000 salary. Instead, giving it back to the university.
Probably the best thing we can do is just make the decisions that turn Michigan State around and get the decisions in place. And I think people will benefit as a result, and the university will benefit.
Engler has been in office for almost a month now, and while some think he's on the right track, the Faculty Senate voted 61-4 that it lacks confidence in the Board of Trustees.
Bernie Sanders was in town this week for the final leg of his Repeal the Trump Tax rallies. More than 1,600 filled the Breslin Center to see the senator and former presidential candidate. The crowd included people who relate to his progressive message, like Sri Tannenbaum, a candidate for governor. The event featured speakers like Little Miss Flint, Mari Copeland. Some sported swag and were ready to be inspired.
There is a lot of pain in this country, and the only way we deal with that reality is when we have the courage to talk about that reality.
That's what people need. We need inspiration, especially in today's dark and dreary political climate. We just need hope for the future.
Sanders, in one of his final stops, still packed the Lansing Center, where it was standing room only. This is one of the worst flu seasons the U.S. has experienced in a while, with deaths up from previous years. Focal Point's Treasure Roberts has easy tips on how to stay healthy.
Ruta Alcinita enjoys spending time with her roommates and friends, but when she got the flu,
I knew I didn't want to be around people, especially in such a closed environment like a college campus.
For about a week, tissues, vitamins, and coughing was all she knew. Student Health Services Director Kathy Braunlish says that flu season is particularly bad this year.
We've had hundreds of students coming in with flu-like illness in the last month or so, and definitely seeing a larger number of students seeking treatment.
Alcinita felt
lots of congestion, lots of pain, unexplainable pain that, body aches, fever.
She took antibiotics and drank water hoping to get better.
I drank a couple water bottles a day, and that really helps flush your system.
Like Austinida, TRIO program coordinator Ryan Barr had the flu and now does everything he can to prevent himself from getting it again.
I'm an overdoer, so I put like maybe too much.
Except getting the flu shot.
I would not want to get sick from something that was supposed to help me.
But Kathy says
the flu shot is the #1 way to avoid the flu.
Only 2 months into the year, and an estimate of 63 people have died of the flu in the U.S. Besides the shot, washing your hands or using hand sanitizer can decrease those chances.
It definitely helps. It's definitely not gonna hurt.
And although some go to work and school while sick, it's best to
stay home.
In East Lansing, I'm Treasure Roberts, Focal Point News.
The CDC announced that the influenza illness has reached its peak for 2017-2018 flu season, but that doesn't mean you should let your guard down. Take precautions when around those who are ill.
It's not unusual for students to pull an all-nighter, but this time it was for a good cause. The event to benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is held every year, and staying up all night is symbolic of children and families that find themselves up in the middle of the night fighting childhood cancer. The night was filled with entertainment from the MSU breakdancing and ballroom dance clubs. When they weren't dancing, they were playing games or listening to personal testimonies. They reached their goal of raising more than $40,000, and this money goes directly to families, making it possible for them to never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food.
It's cool that we can all come together and be part of something for so many sick kids. I mean, everyone knows someone who's been affected by cancer, whether you're in college or not.
Through the treatments discovered at St. Jude, the hospital has increased the childhood cancer survival rate from 20 to 80% through the past 50 years. Floods on campus are receding, but the cleanup continues.
Plus, a tradition on the Breslin floor extends beyond the basketball team. We'll explain after the break.
What makes a Spartan a Spartan? The relentless drive to turn question marks into exclamation points. Believing that we are strong as one, but extraordinary together. And it's our impact that matters most. What makes a Spartan is what's inside, the commitment to something bigger. Because the world never stops asking, who will? Spartans will.
Senior day at the Breslin Center was emotional for more than just the MSU basketball team. Focal Point's Ryan Cole has more on how the seniors who work behind the scenes are saying goodbye.
You don't need to hit a three or throw down a nasty dunk to carry on the Spartan tradition.
We're a big customer service team.
Those blue coats you see around the Breslin, they too get their moment to kiss center court.
It's not something that everyone gets to do. This job's made me love basketball.
Taylor Maroney is one of those senior staffers at the Breslin Center, saying one last goodbye this spring.
I'm getting a little emotional, a little sad.
Maroney is in charge of the Breslin production staff.
We're checking credentials, we're making sure that the people that are on the arena level are supposed to be here.
Her staff is unique.
Is everyone here? It's all student staffs. Everything you see is run by students.
A senior from East Lansing, Maroney has put in her days.
I've been here for 4 years. This is my second home.
But for Maroney and her fellow seniors on staff, those days are coming to a close.
I've been preparing for it, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I started off as one of the blue coats, greeting people at the gate, and I was able to move up to running everything.
Though the work is daunting, Maroney has no regrets.
This is my home. These are my people. These are my, my bosses are my second family.
After back-to-back senior nights for the men's and women's teams, the time came for Maroney
This is really sad.
to leave one last kiss goodbye. From the Breslin Center,
I'm actually sad.
Ryan Cole, Focal Point News.
15 senior staffers bid their farewells last week.
The recent flooding hit IM West and left damage to multiple facilities.
Plus, the MSU Ski Club had a tough decision on whether to continue an annual tradition. Caitlin DeLuca joins us now from the Spartan Newsroom for those stories and more in our on-campus report.
Deja, although the flood has receded, the effects still remain. After the worst flooding MSU has seen in the past 30 years, reminders of the high water still remain present, especially at IM West and IM Circle, which house the majority of the sports classes on campus. Although classes in IM Circle were interrupted during the flooding, the building is now open. Students and faculty looking to play a little squash, racquetball, and handball will have to wait longer. There's no timetable on when the entire building will be open. At least for 1 week, you can ski on campus and you don't have to travel further than the Rock. The MSU Ski Club held its 5th annual Rail Jam last week. One of the club's traditions is to paint the Rock for their Rail Jam event, but they found themselves between a rock and a hard place. The club didn't really want to paint over the names of the survivors from the Larry Nassar case.
We're going to paint the Rock, but we're going to make sure, we're still respecting the survivors because we're standing there with them and we understand, to some extent what they went through.
Proceeds from the Rail Jam event were donated to Saving Our Survivors, a GoFundMe page organized specifically for Nassar's victims. It was one of the last events on campus celebrating Black History Month. Michigan State University's chapter for the NAACP met for an event called Let's Argue. Students met to discuss commonly avoided subjects. MSU junior Tiffany Harris attended this event to support more Black programs on MSU's campus. She says that cultural appropriation is an issue at Michigan State.
It bothers me when I see people wearing things that they know nothing about and not giving credit where credit is due.
Although Black History Month has ended, the NAACP plans on hosting more events in the future. And that's what's happening on campus. I'm Caitlin DeLuca. Deja, Tatiana, back to you in the studio.
The winter months aren't stopping the Holt Farmers Market from supporting local farmers and artisans. The Saturday Farmers Market provides people the chance to buy locally produced food while creating a platform for new businesses. But some vendors have been around for as long as 20 years, and for many shoppers, it's become a weekly tradition.
Favorite part of my market is the people that we get to deal with every week and get to see every week, and I think that was probably the biggest surprise to me was what a community event this becomes every Saturday.
The market switches gears in the winter, focusing a little less on fruits and vegetables and more on selling meat, specialty items, and baked goods. This is the market's 10th year anniversary. They're open every Saturday from 9 to 2.
Football season may seem far away,
but it's closer than you think. Michael Epps has a preview on the spring football season.
That's right, Deja. Michigan State had its first spring practice of the year. Plus, it's Big Ten tourney time for men's and women's basketball. We'll have all the details up next in sports.
When I was green, greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still. Now I'm darker than the deepest sea. Just hand me down, give me a place to be.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Michael Epps. It's a weird time to talk football with March Madness coming up, but Michigan State opened spring practice earlier this week. Junior quarterback Brian Lewerke is getting ready for his second year as the starter. He led the Spartans to a 9-3 regular season after last year's 3-9 setback. MSU won the Holiday Bowl in late December and received some great news after the game when LJ Scott decided to return for his senior season. With 19 of 22 starters returning from last year's team, expectations are pretty high.
That's everybody's dream, to win a national championship. And as a whole, we know we're capable of doing that with skilled players that we have and offensive line, defensive line. So we know that's in our mantra to do. So we're trying to get it done.
The spring game is on Saturday, April 7th, and will be played under the lights. Kickoff is at 5. The Michigan State men's basketball team clinched the share of the Big Ten title with a win last Wednesday over Illinois. But the Spartans needed a win Sunday at Wisconsin to clinch the title outright and take a #1 seed into the Big Ten tournament. Wisconsin had won the last 3 meetings in this building, and it went down to the wire in this one. Tie game in the second half, Ethan Happ gets this hook to go over Jan Jackson, but Jackson got revenge on the other end. Classic pick and pop as Jackson drains this 3. That's NBA range. Assist by Cassius Winston, and the Spartans go up 4. Then on the next possession, Winston calls the ISO. That's not just NBA range, that's Steph Curry range, and he drills the 3 to go up 7. Badgers cut it to 2 with under 4 minutes left, but MSU would hit its free throws down the stretch and beat Wisconsin 68-63. They win the outright Big Ten title for the first time since 2009.
It's great. I mean, it's a lot of great teams in the Big Ten. So for us to come out on top, that's big for us, and it's going to be a big confidence boost in the tournament.
Those things are very valuable when guys can do that. So those three guys probably carried us down the stretch, with Cassius being the #1 assassin.
And with the regular season ending on Sunday, the Big Ten Awards were announced on Monday. Jaren Jackson was the big winner, taking Big Ten Freshman and Defensive Player of the Year honors. He's just the second player to win both awards, joining Greg Oden in 2007. Miles Bridges was a unanimous selection to the All-Big Ten First Team, and Jackson joined Cassius Winston on the third team. Nick Ward also received an honorable mention. Now, a quick update from MSU women's basketball. They suffered a devastating loss in their first game of the Big Ten tournament Thursday, 111-109 after 4 overtimes. MSU had a lead late in the second overtime, but Indiana scored right at the buzzer to force a third, and the Spartans finished the year at 17-13. Now, that's it for sports. Let's head back to the studio.
Over the weekend, a new tradition began in Old Town. Hundreds of people came out Saturday for the first Burrs, Beards, and Brews Lumberjack Festival on Turner Street. Festival goers enjoyed all sorts of games, but the first ever feats of strength competition stole the show. The Old Town Commercial Association enlisted the help of real lumberjack Curtis Simmons to supply the wood for not only the competition, but the entire event.
We had planned out for a couple of meetings throughout the last couple of months what we wanted to do as far as wood size and what we were looking for. And the last couple of weeks, just during my day at work and stuff I've had at home, I've been cutting wood and figuring out, different sizes and different obstacles that people can go through.
Volunteers like Curtis made the festival possible, and donations were accepted to support the Old Town Commercial Association.
That's all for tonight's show. I'm Deja Green.
And I'm Tatiana Hemphill. We now leave you with sounds from Lion King, the musical, coming this summer to the Breslin Center. Pre-sale tickets are already available.
We'd like to wish everyone safe travels during spring break.
And have fun tonight. Good night.